I spent a very long time debating whether or not to upload this, and I think the reason is just because I was taking so long to get it out. But I realized that for like a grand finale of this kind of series, I wouldn't really want to do a normal intro like I'd done before. I was planning on making one more video for this series, but it never really got in the works or in production or anything. Um, but with that being said, this is the final episode of the high school perspective. It's been fun. I mean, obviously, looking back on it now, it's been a long time uh, since I've done them. I think the time of recording in this was like May 2021, and I just completely stalled on recording it and getting it uploaded. But if I can say anything, just to sort of intro the final episode for this video, it's that this has been, just an incredible experience, I guess, for me. It's really given me confidence within my own speaking ability, and I obviously know that this is not going to go out to a huge number of people. I mean, I'll probably just put this on my private story or something. But this is something that I've always just kind of had the idea of doing, at least for the past like a couple of years. I had the idea of doing it. What if me and my friends just sat down, talked a little bit, and then I uploaded it to YouTube? That was always just the original idea, and then when it got into more like serious stuff, I realized that this could be something that could, reach a lot of different groups of people, and that something that I could learn from personally, like just different backgrounds and different, just groups, and it was always just something to sort of like learn from. So um, for those that have stuck around, thank you. I obviously know that's not a huge amount of you guys, but yeah, that's gonna do it for the intro and for the intro for the final episode. So hope you enjoy. Hope you stick around. It's very long, so I understand why you wouldn't watch the majority of it or any of it. But yeah, enjoy the video, and thank you for tuning in.
Welcome back to another installment of the high school perspective. I almost forgot the wording on the intro, but it's okay. Like I was mentioning earlier, this very well could be the last episode of the podcast. If it is, this is going to be a good way to go out because of the topic. I haven't told any of you guys the topic yet, but it's a good one. If it's not, then I don't really know what could follow this if it's a good episode, which it probably will be, but we'll see. My name is Will. I am your host. I've never said that before. I feel like that's just a thing that most people say, though, when they have a podcast. And I'm joined today with some friends. Let's just go around, introduce everyone.
I'm Ryan. Hello. I've been in a couple episodes.
Oh, I'm Luis. I've been in a couple episodes as well.
My name's Andrew. I've been in pretty much like almost all the episodes. Not all of them, but like a lot of them.
It's kind of baller.
A good number, yeah. Yeah, so today's topic, or I guess tonight's topic, it's almost 7. Tonight's topic of discussion, and being that it is towards the end of the school year, I haven't done a single episode all of May. We're about to graduate. Tonight's episode is going to be remembering high school. It's sort of like the conclusion to what this past year of me doing these podcasts has kind of been about. Sort of just a wrap up on the year in general. I mean, because the original idea for this was going to be, let's just talk about the year. But then I was like, well, we already kind of did that for the 1-year anniversary where I had the other guys on, plus Andrew as well. But yeah, no, today we're going to be talking about just a remembering of our high school careers, I guess. And I think a good place to start with this kind of a video is just like I was just saying, just to sort of like take us back like through not necessarily like all the years, but maybe just this past one where we have probably the best memory of it. So, and everybody can do this. So let's just each take a moment just to summarize what our year has been filled with, what it's brought to us, what I don't know, I guess like what we've learned, what's challenged us during this year. I'm probably revealing more of the questions that are going to be said later, but let's just hear everyone's summary on how their high school or last high school year went.
It's definitely, by far the most different one. I'd say it was pretty online. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like it's hard to describe like how it how it like felt, because it feels so normal now. It was a lot more mundane than any of the other years, and like I kind of felt like confined to one space a lot. And now that kind of quarantine is ending, I guess I'm starting to feel more of like what I was feeling before quarantine, which is, I think, a good thing. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's definitely an experience, and I think I've learned a lot from it as well.
Yeah, I'd echo what Ryan just said as well. Like, definitely a lot of confinement. Definitely a lot of like going back into like habits because there's nothing to stop you. You don't really have a schedule anymore, and there's not really separation between where you're working and where you're like relaxing. Um, but I think like it challenged me in a lot of good ways too to like think outside the box. So especially for like student government and theater, the things that I like spend a lot of time on, like thinking of new ways to do those things in like this new era. So there's been a lot of challenges, um, but in summary, I would say that those challenges uh, were good overall. They helped me grow.
I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, as Ryan said, this is definitely the most different year out of any of my years, like in high school. Um, I mean, this was my first year at a new school, and it was really weird because I was taking semester long classes but getting year long credits for them. And I ended up taking like 5 classes in total, 3 for one semester and 2 for another semester. So it was really laid back. But yeah, I definitely felt like I was in one room, like just for a lot of it. And I was like, I would try so hard, like just to get out of the house. And for most of the year, I can like drive. So it's kind of hard. And the fact that like I knew no one out here or really had anyone to like hang out with made it harder because, I don't want to go out of the house like by myself, just like looking for something or someone to do something with. And like it wasn't until we started going back to school in person like twice a week until like I finally started making friends and like going out and stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is the first school year I've been able to drive. This is the first school year where I also felt like I didn't really get a lot of help with like doing homework because like I wasn't confident enough to ask like random people that I didn't know for like help with homework. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people still felt isolated regardless of where they were like on like where they're at in the world because everyone is still like being seen through a screen regardless of where you're at. Um so I'm sure a lot of people felt the same way in terms of isolation, but I guess for me it was just like a degree further than like most, like being what like 300-400 miles away from like where most of my friends are. So yeah, it was definitely an experience, to say the least.
Now that I'm hearing you guys answer this question, it kind of reminded me of the first question I think that I had asked in the last episode, which had to do with if you could summarize the year in like or with a word, something like that. I think that was the question. So now hearing this, I think it's just a bit of an altered question, but my summary on my overall senior year, I mean, obviously there's the whole like, oh, it was hectic, it was crazy, it was different, it was weird. It was like, I guess, just kind of awkward and just a new experience for everyone. I guess I was going through it, even the people that aren't seniors. But I think even though there obviously was the bad stuff within the year, there is a lot of good that can be said about it. I think just for me personally, um, it gave me a lot of different opportunities to try new things and to experiment with things that I never thought I'd really get the chance to do before. It really made me, and I'll talk about it more later as I get more specific, but just being that I was able to try these new things, it made me a lot more confident in like who I am as a person. It kind of helped me with a bit more self-discovery, I would say. And I think being that it was my last year of high school, it was going to be doing that regardless. I know that some kids in their last year of high school, I don't know if it's true for you guys or not, but they just don't know what they want to do with their lives. I have, in my last year, sort of found what I want to do with my life to some extent. But it's just going to be about like getting there. That's like the part I'm not 100% sure on. But yeah, I mean that's the my summary of of my last year of high school is pretty much just you get what you're given, and you use what you're given to make something out of it. And I think that can be said for the majority of high school, but most importantly, in this last year for me personally, it really put into perspective of like when I set my mind to something that I'm passionate about, it really I am capable of doing it. Like I know that I slack a lot on a lot of different things that I'm not passionate about, but when I do set my mind to something, it's like I know I can do it and I can um, do it to the best of my ability. So that's my summary of high school. It's pretty cliche, I guess, but it was overall a great experience, I think. And I know that within high school, there are a bunch of different experiences that you take with you. So we're going to get a little more casual now. Like we're going to drop down like real low, just share some stories now. I don't know if any of you guys have anything specific prepared. I don't, even though I've been looking at this question for like a long time. We're going to share some embarrassing high school stories. Just anything that you can think of that happened in high school that was just like not supposed to happen, didn't go the way you think it would. Just something embarrassing that you're comfortable with sharing here. That yeah, we can all talk about and just listen to.
I kind of have one. It's not. I probably have way more embarrassing stories, but like I guess the one that comes to mind was I was running for sophomore class president, and I printed out like a ton of posters, like literally a ton. I put them everywhere over the school, and I spelled sophomore wrong, so it said like I forgot the second O. Like first
Everybody
of all,
forgets the second O. Yeah.
yeah, there shouldn't be a second O, right? Sophomore, not sophomore, dude. Anyways, I got trolled for that. I still won, so didn't really matter, but that was embarrassing.
That kind of reminded me. It's not like the best embarrassing story, but looking back on it, I cringe really hard. Um, so I think it was either sophomore. It has to have been junior year, because wait, no, it was sophomore year. So um, for homecoming, right? We had I forgot. It was some kind of homecoming rally, I think, and there were a bunch of things involved with it. Like, was it dance girls? Is that one of the things that we do for the homecoming rally? There's
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
There's something else, and then there was
Float.
the floats, and then there was the homecoming skits for like each grade. And me and like 3 or 4 other people that I know wanted to do the skit because we felt like it was low key enough to where like we're not totally like showing out to a bunch of people, but it was still like pretty funny. So our whole thing was we were I think we were I forgot what our theme was that year, but I remember being
Was it
uh
Pixar?
I
Wait.
think it was Pixar because
No,
I remember
wait.
being it was Pixar, bro. I
Was it?
remember
Okay.
being Monsters Inc. because I was Mike Wazowski.
Oh, that's right.
And
Yeah.
so the thing was, I had to like get a neon green shirt, put a big eye on it. That wasn't that bad, but it was the skit because I specifically remember like there was a point where we had to do like a dance off for some reason, like in front of everyone, right? And this dance off we were doing was like it was back in what like 2019, 18, I think.
One of those years.
It was when like Fortnite was really popular. So obviously like the Fortnite dances
Oh
are gonna
my
be like, and I was the only one that knew how to do like the Fortnite dances really well. And I had to while like everyone was like doing some mediocre dances, I was kind of like trying to steal the show, but it was so bad, dude. I feel like I was feeling myself in the moment, like when I was, and I think like just being in front of that many people kind of told me like, okay, you gotta go all out. And I remember doing like the default dance and like the Orange Justice the
default
height,
dance.
and oh my god, dude. I just remember like thinking back on it, like maybe a year later, I'm like, what was I doing, dude? Like, why did I say yes to this?
Dude, I'm sure that
But-
was actually hilarious for everyone in the audience.
oh yeah,
yeah.
like
Like-
I'm sure it was. It's just looking back on it, like
Yeah.
I think you might be
I
thinking of it
memorized
too
how to
hard.
do the. I memorized how to do the default dance too.
Same, dude.
I was just like, that's just like a thing for like high school and middle school boys to just like.
Yeah. It.
That's
But,
so
like-
funny.
In theater, dude, like it's like whoever can embarrass themselves the most in front of the most amount of people wins, dude. Like so, like you go as hard as possible to just make like a fool out of yourself to make somebody laugh. So, like, dude, like the fact that you're looking back on that and being like, "Damn, I can't believe I did that," dude. Everyone would be like, "Damn, I wish I thought of that." Like, all my friends would have been like, "Damn."
Especially nowadays, because Fortnite's just like not as popular.
Yeah.
No, but when you said that, that kind of triggered something. Because I mean, I know you're gonna remember this, but you probably don't remember it being as embarrassing as I do. But junior year, the very beginning of junior year, me and Andrew were asked by, it was actually we were asked by Paul to do to go up in front of the like during the welcome back assembly and play like some game. I think where
I
you like
remember
run
this.
to the middle, retrieve a beanbag, and then run it back.
oh,
And
my
we were asked to do that by
God.
Paul, who at that time was in leadership. So so we agreed, of course. And so when we get onto the field, we're all playing the game and stuff, and we're all like running around, and I'm like trying to like run like super fast and stuff, and like get the beanbags, and we were winning like for a long time, but it was hard because we had to be like elbowed like together, like you know how you like lock.
I thought it
elbows.
was our feet, or like
That was
our
the feet
were
too.
cutting it
I
in.
think I
Pause.
think what happened was the string came off, and then we had to elbow like towards the end. So I think that's what ended up happening. But anyways, it got down to like the last, I don't know how long we were running for, maybe like a couple minutes, but it got down to like the last like maybe 10 seconds. And there was at least one girl that I knew on the sophomore team that was kind of right next to us. Because I think we were opposite to freshmen. So it was like seniors over here and sophomores over here. We were running to go get or I think we were running back from getting a beanbag from the sophomores ones because you could steal like from the other teams. And they were running back from ours, but they had two beanbags. And you weren't allowed to do that. You were only allowed to hold one, but they had two, and they were like laughing on the way back with like 5 seconds left. So I'm all mad. I run it back. And then when the time runs out, I go run over, and then I launch one over to our side, hoping that the ASB president at that time, Devin Green, wouldn't see it. And all the sophomores in the back start booing me, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, we should have won. But then they're announcing the winners, and we were juniors then, and we got dead last because he saw like what I did, and I was just like, that's not
I
right.
was so disappointed in you.
I
I was really disappointed in you
was
guys
so
for getting
no, but
destroyed.
it was honestly it was so embarrassing because well, one, it was embarrassing just because we lost, and I had to deal with like the humility of just being like, Will, bro, why'd you do that? Like, we would have gotten like second or something, but it was like, it was embarrassing because I was so frustrated with myself at a game that like literally had like no value whatsoever. And yeah, no, just doing that. I mean, it just shows like how competitive I am. I guess like that's one thing I can take away from it. But yeah, we should have won. Like we were gonna win too,
Yeah.
like, if they hadn't taken the two. Do you remember this? Like
I vaguely remember thinking. I remember seeing and talking to you afterwards, thinking like that they were cheating. I'm like, yeah, dude, they did cheat. We should have won that. And I don't remember if you went up to Devin afterwards, like to tell him. But I remember thinking like, oh, we should have won that, bro. But I remember letting it go like really quickly. But
Yeah, that's tough. But then I got like so much hate for it afterwards by like the entire class. Like everybody came up to me at some point in the day. And even because I was a TA back then, I would walk in to classrooms like to deliver passes. People recognized me from being on the field.
You're
And
the
I'm like,
kid
hey, that's the dude that threw the beanbag. And I was like, oh my God, this is so terrible. It eventually, like no one's gonna remember that except for me, of course. But yeah, that's my embarrassing story.
that's like the
Um,
perfect embarrassing story, dude. Like
Yeah.
it's not embarrassing enough to like
To not
leave
wanna
a
tell it.
meaningful impact, but like you did get pretty embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I can really think of, it's not really embarrassing. It's just kind of a funny story. In math class, I had Mr. Yao. He was a great teacher. I loved him. He was my favorite teacher that year. He taught honors pre-calc, and he one time during Trojan time, which is like a thing at our school, basically like where you just kind of go to a different classroom to do homework or whatever. He asked me to go fill up his water for him. He like gave me like an empty McDonald's cup and told me to fill up his water for him. And he told me because there was like a water hose right outside the classroom, right?
It reminds me of Luis at McDonald's.
But then he told me to go to 500 Hall because the water fountains are new there and they taste really good. So that was like, a 2-minute walk. I didn't want to do that. So I take the cup, I walk down to the little thing right outside the classroom and fill it up. And then I wait like a minute outside, and then I walk back in, and then I give it to him. As soon as I give it to him, he already knows that I didn't actually go to the 500 Hall to get the water. And so he takes one sip of it, and he's like, go dump it out and give me some 500 Hall water. It's like, wow, okay. So I did that. He always like would bring cookies to class. And so I would eat the cookies, right? And then one day he just randomly goes on this rant. Like this was the day after the water incident, where he was just like talking about how ungrateful I was in his class, and how I scammed him out of water, and I'd steal all of his cookies. And then another time in his class, I was on my phone, and then I forgot to like turn the sound off because we were like supposed to be studying, but like I didn't really care. So I had the sound on, and then he heard it. So then he made me go take a lap around the school, but it was like pouring rain. So I could just like walk around the school in the pouring rain. It was pretty rough. Great teacher though. I love him.
Oh man.
No, dude, at like Catholic school, there's not really like you can't really be a delinquent or else like you get expelled. Like what happened was that there's this one kid who's like probably the most delinquent in our class. He's hilarious, but he's also like, I mean, he's out there, I guess. But like he was in my Spanish class, and for some reason we had this TA named Manav, and like the TA would just sit in the back of the class. Manav would sit in the back of the class and like just like kind of sit there, until like the teacher would call him for whatever reason, and she usually wouldn't. And the teacher like hated this kid, the kid that like the delinquent that I was telling you about. Like she hated him because he would always interrupt class, but he was so funny. Like whenever he'd say something, we'd all start dying, and so it was a pretty small class. And one day he was like particularly on her nerves. Like he had already made a bunch of jokes, and then she was like, she got a call slip for Manav, and then she was like Manav, and then as he was walking by,
This is
he just
making me
goes-
remember something else.
as Manav's walking by, he goes, Manav, do 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 do, like the Muppets, and the whole class started dying. Like I started tearing up, like I was crying, laughing, and she was so mad. Like she held us back, like everyone who laughed back after class. Like I said, you can't encourage his behavior, dude. It was so funny.
Oh my god.
That's so dumb.
That's hella fun.
Yeah, he was definitely waiting the whole year to say that. Just like for the perfect opportunity to say Manam.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Bro, I don't know if it was the delivery of how we said it, but that has me dying. Bro.
All right. So I know we've already talked about a lot of the memories that we've had so far, but those are more specifically towards teachers or classmates or just stories in general. But let's get a little more specific than that. What just out of your entire high school career, what was your worst memory and your best memory?
I mean, like, I can already think, I know what my best memory is because, like, it's something that I, gone back to a lot because it's just pretty sick. I can't really think of a worse one yet. You have to come back to me. But it was homecoming of junior year. It was fun. I met some new people that I ended up becoming friends with for a while. and it was a good time. But at one point, my friend says to me, I don't remember who it was, but he said, "Here, Ryan, we'll lift you up and have you crowd surf." So I was like, "Okay, sick."
Dude, I
So then they
remember this.
lifted me up, and then I crowd surfed like across like the entire thing, and like my phone almost fell out of my pocket. It was pretty sick. And then they put me down, and then I just had like so much adrenaline after that. You know, it was like it's like a lot. The DJ, apparently I wasn't there for this, but apparently the DJ said if anybody else tried crowd surfing, then they would cancel the entire event. This is like
I
a safety
remember that
hazard or
too.
whatever.
Yeah.
But it was definitely worth it. Even if the event like had got canceled, it would have been worth it. Because that
Damn.
was, you know,
That's awesome.
pretty sick. Yeah.
Boom.
So
and it's night.
I'll do my worst and best memories. So
Around.
for worst memories, I guess it could be also like most like
Andy.
embarrassing experience. Because basically what happened was that okay, so I think my worst memory was when I was a freshman and we were at homecoming and basically oh god, it's like horrible. Basically, like I had this crush on this girl. Who you guys know, friend of the show, Amber. But you know, she didn't like me back. But at the time, and so what happened was that I wanted to dance with her when like the slow dance came on, but instead, like this other girl asked me to dance, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll dance. Or oh god, no. Really, what happened was that her friend came up and was like, oh, my friend wants to dance with you, and I was like, okay. I was like so awkward, and so I went up and danced with her, and then oh my god, dude, my other friend who was a senior came down and saw me dancing with this girl, and I was clearly uncomfortable, and then he came in and interrupted us dancing, and then like started dancing with me as like a joke, and she just stood there and like watched us like as a joke dance, and I was like, oh yeah. It was like the worst experience of my life because then also there was
so funny.
yeah, it was horrible because also there was this girl who liked me at the time, and then I got a call from one of her friends that like later that night it was like, oh, she's crying by the way because you danced with this girl. I was like, what the hell is going on? It was like the worst night of my life. I was so mad. I was like, yeah,
So
that was
funny.
horrible. But I think the best experience of high school might have been like, I don't know, like probably maybe also freshman year or just like any time honestly when like just being on stage, I guess. Like so when I was doing Fiddler was one of my most memorable shows, and then Saving the Greeks as well, which was like the last show we did live. Like after those shows you'll just like feel so amazing, and like seeing everyone there is like the best experience like on earth. So yeah.
I don't have a specific one for my worst memory. I think it's just an accumulation of every single piece of drama that I've ever been a part of in high school. Because most of the time, it was never started by me.
Yeah. You're not a very drama person.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no. But honestly, like there were times where like I like this. I think is the most typical example. You have the two friends fighting, and one's like, oh. You know, if you're not on my side, you're on theirs. And then the other person's saying the exact opposite thing. And it's like, why can't we all just be friends? That's like the most simple piece of of an example that I could give. I mean, there's tons more, but honestly, this is just a little bit of advice. Like if you are involved in drama, like just do your best like to remain positive and just, you know, you don't overthink anything, I guess. You know, if you're going to be in a part of something, don't overthink it because that'll lead to you like wondering if you and this person are still going to be friends in the end. And it's like, of course you will, unless it's like a really like, unless it's like someone that you met in high school, then that might be questionable because you don't know them as well. But if it's somebody that you know from middle school, somebody they know from even elementary school, that probably happens much more rarely. But if you guys have been friends for a while, then I don't know. I think honestly though, those can add up to being some of the worst experiences, and can honestly ruin one's high school experience. I know that, like I would try to focus on like some piece of work, and I would be at the same time thinking about the outcome of what happened in this other altercation or argument that I had with somebody. And yeah, it's just never fun. It's not going to matter at the end of the day. What's going to matter is the grades that you get. That's what's going to matter. But honestly, yeah, no, just like it's high school. The drama, you can avoid it. I think that's just kind of a part of high school that you got to take and just go along with for sometimes. But if you can, do your best to avoid it. And I mean, honestly, if you are involved in some that does get up to like top tier, like just annoyance, good luck. I don't really have any advice besides that.
That's true though. Like, yeah, it's like you go in as a freshman, you're like, dude, high school drama, like that's so beneath me. Like, obviously I'm not going to get involved in high school drama.
Yeah.
And then a girl has a crush on you, and then her friend calls you, and she's like, oh, she's crying. I'm like, dude, what did I do? Dude, literally.
I just like my first like 2 years of high school, I just didn't take anything seriously, like at all. So I never got in any drama my first 2 years. And then my third year, it was smooth sailing until the end. And then big drama struck. But I've been drama free since then. It's been pretty sick. It's great. If you can stay out of drama, you're like so much happier than if you're like worrying about what other people like think of you and stuff. Just like, who cares? It's high school. You're gonna leave in a couple years and never see each other again. Doesn't really matter.
I guess that's another thing that could be considered one of my worst memories. It's just feeling like I'm always being judged, or knowing that I'm being judged sometimes. I mean, I'm in high school. I'm sure everybody got made fun of at some point, but I got made fun of a lot, like for being a part of Frisbee, and I think I still do now.
Yeah.
I get made fun of.
Dude, you're in Frisbee.
This guy's in Frisbee.
I get made.
This
I
guy's
get
Not a
made
sport.
fun of a lot.
Everyone who makes fun of you for Frisbee, that's out of love, dude. We all.
It's not.
think it
It's
was
not
mostly
out of love.
me.
Trust me. Here, look. So, but that's not the only thing. I mean, I get made fun of for. I get made fun of for doing these videos. You know, I don't know why. Like, I really have no idea why. I mean, I guess it's like the only reason that I can think of is it's not the normal thing to do, I guess, and neither is Frisbee. I like playing Frisbee. I think it's fun. And I don't do it because I think like, oh, I'm gonna be professional ultimate Frisbee player someday. It's like that barely even exists right now because the league, it just sucks. Like it's not that good. Hopefully it'll get better. I'd love to see it get better someday. But yeah, no, I think it's not like a bad experience because it's like I can sort of grow from it. I can get more confident from it, and I think. With that experience, I'm able to sort of become a stronger person and not really worry about what others think of me. I think that's just one of the things that I've valued so much about being made fun of and being ridiculed for stuff, because it did happen a lot. Like, people wouldn't necessarily say it to my face, but people would tell other people that then would tell me, and I'd be like, oh, who said this about me? And they'd be like, oh, so many people will, like, and I was like, all right, well, that, I mean, I don't care. I don't care, but on the inside, it's like, of course you're gonna care. Of course you're gonna care what other people's like think of you sometimes, because those are like the popular kids, you know. It's like the people that you have like an in with or something. Eventually, it just stopped bothering me, and I think it became to the point where I was like, if they're gonna make fun of me for that, I'd love to see them try to do it and then get made fun of themselves. Because I don't think probably haven't been on the other side of the script as often. So that's probably my worst experience, but in a way, it also became my best experience now as I'm going away from high school.
Yeah, Will, your answers are always like so like
Articulated.
introspective. Like they always like tie into like a life lesson at the end. Mine are just like my teacher begged for water and I went and fetch it for him. There's no lesson there.
My teacher stories are like that too. But...
Dude, that kind of reminds me of a thing. Like, okay, like at our school, I'm sure there's been people that have talked behind my back. I've seen people talk about me behind my back, but usually it's like justified. Like usually I did something dumb. It's usually not because of like something. Oh, like they think I'm not cool or whatever. 'Cause I'm awesome, dude, obviously. But
yeah, we all know.
but I don't know. Like there's things like even like when I kissed a dude on stage, like for like 5 shows and for like however many rehearsals, like no one ever made fun of me for that. You know what I mean? Even though
Yeah.
that's like the most obviously the most fruity thing on earth, and like no, the people in theater would call me fruity because I like would like those sophomore posters I was telling you where I spelled sophomore wrong. Like I did one with a dandelion in front of my face, and they're like, "Dude, that's so fruity," but it was a joke. I mean, like I could roll with the punches
Yeah.
kind of thing. And obviously, once you're kind of confident in your sexuality and things like that, that doesn't really bother you. Your kind of masculinity and things like that. And being in theater, it's like obviously you have to be. But then it reminds me of this one time when like I was a freshman and I got this anonymous text from like I had no idea who it was, and they were just like they just texted me like, "Oh, you shouldn't run for sophomore class president because everyone hates you and like you don't do anything and like you're like you don't like basically like these like really mean things." And I
That
was
was me.
like,
Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, but it was like this random person. I was like, well, who are you? I was like, what? Basically, like, I don't know.
It's
And
been Ryan all along.
I actually did
I've
find
been
out
the
who it
source
was
of all your
later.
problems.
That's kind of
Really?
like,
You did?
well, so
Oh,
this is what
really?
happened. Yeah, because it was an anonymous number. I didn't know them at the time, and they just started sending me like quotes of something I'd say. I'm a kind of
Mhm.
quotable person, and I would say because I started saying things like top 10, and I would start like these dumb catchphrases,
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh, how do you know? I thought it was like a friend of mine. And then they were like, and they just started saying all these mean things and like, oh, you should run for sophomore class president. Like nobody in our class
Mhm.
likes you and blah blah blah. I eventually, proved them wrong. I was able to win. But then in a theater rehearsal, we were like exchanging phone numbers, like just among the cast, and like, and I added someone. I was like, wait, I've already texted this person before. I was like, who is this? And it was this person. And I was like, oh my god. And at this point, we had already been friends. Like, like it was this weird thing where like, I guess I had someone who either hated me, what I mean, I guess, and then was able to make them kind of my friend after
Mhm.
that. And so that's kind of like it kind of helped me just like because kind of what they were saying was true. Like I didn't really do as much as I should have, and maybe I wasn't that much of a likable person, but like working really hard, like the year after that, I worked really hard to make sure that like people knew that I was doing my job and like showing up to every single Spirit Week or homecoming rehearsal and things like that. Like making sure to get to know people and making friends with people. Like and eventually that person who had texted me so many of these horrible things was my friend. And to this day they are my friend. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean, like the closest thing that I had to that was like that's like my frisbee is like Will's frisbee is my band. Like I would always get made fun of for being in band, but like I don't really care because I wasn't like a huge band guy either. Because like the whole like band kid thing, I tried to like completely stay out of that. But like I'm still friends with like most of the kids or a lot of the kids who are in band.
I think it's part of like just trying to flee those stereotypes. Same thing with theater kid. Like, dude, theater kids are like the worst people on planet Earth.
Theater kids are the worst.
Exactly. Like, and
What's
I was
worse,
one of
theater
those
kids or
people
band
before.
kids?
Probably theater kids, right?
I don't think I've ever like been a band kid.
I was a theater kid.
I think the only like band kids at our school like aren't actually in band.
they're probably theater. They're probably in theater.
No, just like making a lot of outdated meme references and like
like
Big Chungus.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say
if anybody didn't know what band or theater kid meant, like the stereotypes is that's what it basically
It's
is.
just like really annoying. Our school doesn't really have that, right? It's like we don't really have like super
have a
pasty
few.
white kids who like Reddit, like the type of like Reddit kind of. That used to be me, maybe in middle school.
I'm
But I
sure
don't
there were a
think-
few frisbee kids on the team that kind of had that memo.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
there's like one or
'Cause he
two at my
was-
school. Like I guess theater kids though. Like, but then the rest of us are like so afraid of that stereotype. I guess so. Like you go as
Yeah.
far possible as you possibly can from that.
Well, I mean, like even like for me, like or I guess like for any sport, like it got to the point where like someone else calling something else or someone else gay became like the universal insult. Like if
Yeah, I don't know. Like that was looking back on that, that was like super homophobic.
I mean,
And
people,
I would always,
and
I
it's
would
bad.
always like,
It's bad because people are still saying it today. Because I
yeah,
remember one time this wrestler said that, like, he said it like to my face. He was like, "Frisbee's gay," and I was like, "That's interesting." Because if you're gonna say that a non-contact sport is gay, and you're over here tackling men in your sport, that's a little awkward, I
but
guess,
the
isn't
thing
it?
is like, I don't know why like high school society treats gay as like a bad thing, like
Yeah.
fruity as a bad thing. It's
Yeah.
literally just, it should be normalized.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like the whole like sus. Now it's like
Yeah.
associated with like Among Us, but like
I was just about to
sus-
say, please don't say.
before like sus was like so like an insult of like your friend who's like acting gay. And it's like at a certain point we just got to get to the point where like being gay is just as normal as being straight.
Yeah.
Which I think we're way further than that than we think as a society.
Like for some
I
reason
agree.
in our theater like department there was like a lot of football kids. Not a lot, but there was like a few. And like there's probably more homophobia in that theater on the guy side than there was gay dudes. And like usually when you think of theater, it's just like a bunch of gay dudes. You know what I mean? And I don't even
Yeah.
think there's been a single gay guy to roam the theater. Ever,
Really?
bro. And like, well, I'm sure there has been, but you know what I mean? Like,
Roam the theater.
but like there's more, yeah, like in a weird way, there's more homophobia and being like, oh, that's so sus. But it was also like a joke to be sus. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like how close would I get to kissing another guy in backstage before like one of us chickened out? I mean,
Oh yeah, that's
like-
like gay chicken.
yeah, exactly. I'd always win. I'd never lost. But yeah, that was, you know what I mean?
Oh man, yeah. I just, because when people say that now, I mean, it does make you feel a little awkward. But I think if it is a bunch of guys saying that, because I mean, I don't think girls are gonna say that. Like, at least not nearly as much as a group of straight dudes are gonna say this.
Yeah.
But if it does come up, if someone's like, "Oh yeah, you're so gay for that," I know that at least a few of the guys in that group are gonna, you know, if they think about it a little bit more, like to them, gay is just a word. It's just an insulting word, but it shouldn't be that. You know, you should use something else, because if you think about it a little bit, like from their perspective, a little bit more, if they were to think about it in deeper context, you know, it's like, why am I saying this, you know, or why am I accepting the fact that this person is saying this to somebody else? If they were to stand up for, you know, all gay people, or for literally anybody that would be offended by that, you know, even just regular people that probably don't want to hear that, I think things would change. But it's just a part of, I think, maintaining that masculinity, I guess. And it's sad because it's obviously, you don't want to hear that. You don't want that to be the universal insult. It's just a little, I don't know. I guess sort of like, it's kind of toxic, I guess, after a while.
Oh yeah, I think
eventually, or to
like
keep hearing that.
once, like I want to kind of eventually in my life get away from like, because like in college, like frat culture, it's always like who's the most masculine this, masculine that. But I feel like, you know, once you get to a certain age, it doesn't really matter how masculine you are anymore. You know, you're just like a person. I want to get to the point where like I don't really care about how masculine or feminine I am. I'm just, you know, I'm just a person at that point. And I think in high school, guys try as hard as possible, like not to be feminine, or else they'll be called gay, or fruity or whatever. And like, I think it's a big problem that I don't really know when we're gonna kind of get past that. It's kind of like walking up to a really masculine dude and insulting them by calling them straight. It's like, it doesn't mean anything, right? It's just such a dumb, it doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
So like the other way around, it still doesn't make any sense because, you know, who cares?
I guess with Ryan's point about like thinking about when you're gonna get past what, like calling people gay like as an insult, I don't think society as a collective can do that, because there's always gonna be like a part of us that like still wants to call people gay. But like I think it's more of a sense of like self-maturity, or like realizing that like you're not really doing anything. Like bro. Okay, I don't want to get into a whole thread about this, but like I play COD, right? Like
Right.
regularly.
Yeah.
Like I'm in COD lobbies all the time. I hear this kind of
Mhm.
stuff all the time. And when they hit me with a oh you're so gay, I don't know what do you mean by that? Okay. All right, what's wrong with it? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I've kind of come to a point where like gay people. I mean, okay, I'm not gonna go out of my way to say like I go out of my way to befriend like gay people, but I have like gay friends, or like
Yeah.
I'm not tripping. Like if one of my friends comes out and tells me he's gay or he's bi, like there's nothing wrong with that. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I just I see what you guys mean. Like when I don't know where the insult came from, and I guess Ryan makes a good point about just like the hyper masculinity that comes from like denying the fact that you're gay, like
Yeah.
someone calls you gay.
Mhm.
Like I don't know. There's a lot of I don't know how to describe it.
I,
You guys hit all the points already.
well, I kind of want to echo what you're saying about that. Like, it's kind of like an individual kind of thing. Like, when I was like, when I first came into high school, there was like this natural instinct where I felt like I had to defend the fact that I was straight because I was a kid in theater and like nobody knew who I was and I
Yeah.
wore collared shirts and and like, crew necks like every day. I wore the same
Mhm.
outfit. And so I would be like, oh yeah, I had this crush on this girl. I would just tell everyone like, oh yeah, I like this girl, or whatever. And then and I look back on it, it's kind of embarrassing because it's like, dude, I didn't have to try that hard to prove that I was something. You know what I mean? Like I could have just
Mhm.
been myself. And then and I think that I kind of learned that throughout the year because by the end of it, when I made those sophomore posters of me with a dandelion, on the ground or whatever, and everyone was like, "Oh, dude, you're so fruity." Like that didn't what I mean, it didn't affect me. I was confident enough in my, I guess, sexuality or my masculinity that I didn't really care. And so
But
I
you
think
you're
it's
saying that like if that had happened when you were a freshman, then that would have had a much like bigger effect on
like when
you.
I just started, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until right now, like junior year, when I can kiss a guy on stage, like full on, and
Mhm.
yeah, I'm completely fine with it. And it doesn't like no one calls me. Well, I guess the school is more tolerant as well, like the whole community. But like even myself, like that doesn't challenge me. I'm like, oh, dude, like I don't I don't have to worry about that anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
Mhm.
That it's a really good point because I think in my case, I think this is sort of similar to what I had already said, but um, I mean, I never really had a problem with um, not really like caring what other people think in terms of whether or not they think I'm gay or not. I guess what I'm saying is when I did join frisbee, it was something that I joined because I was good at it. I knew that it was a sport that was like kind of young, I guess, very new, and something that I hoped over the years would interest more people as I was leaving high school. But I never thought that it'd be something that would challenge my sexuality. And what I mean by this, I guess that's kind of a weird way to put it, but it's like because I played this and because I was a part of this club and so invested in this club, people saw that as like less masculine than what a normal person would be, which would be not in frisbee, I guess. So, but I guess that could be said about a lot of different things. There's things about color guard that are said. That's like you're not like an athlete, I guess. Even the track people like are considered like the washed up like football and soccer players. It's like why can't people just run track to run track because maybe they're just
Mhm.
good at track. Um, it's just a lot of things like that. I think if people are gonna I guess like put others down like for doing something, and even if it's just a joke, like saying like, oh, you play frisbee, you're gay because of that. It's like there's no real point in saying it. I guess I'm not like gonna tell anybody like to stop making fun of people. Like obviously you just shouldn't make fun of people. That's just common sense, I think. But if it's to the point like so much where a bunch of people start doing it, and and it does eventually catch up to that person, like wow, like why am I doing this? It's like because it became a point like I was doing a lot for that club, like Club Ultimate, right? And I was being called this stuff at the same time. And at one point I was sort of just thinking to myself like why am I doing this if I'm not really getting like that much out of it? It's sort of like I'm just doing it for fun, but I'm, being made fun of because of it. It was sort of a challenge that I had, but eventually I was able to, thankfully get over it. And yeah, I'm a better person of it because like today because of it. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the whole like I never thought that would happen. I never thought I'd be challenged in that way, or seen in a different way than who I already was because I played frisbee.
Yeah, I think like yeah, like it's like that on individual thing. Like, why does someone say that? Oh, you play frisbee, you're gay. It's so that they can get a reaction. It's like to insult you to see how
Yeah.
you'll react to that. And so like once we start realizing, okay, like what is that even like? What you're like? That was like a dumb joke. Like you don't if you don't by the time like the person who's being insulted doesn't feel insulted, like kind of how I felt when people were calling me fruity at the end of my freshman year. Like I wasn't really insulted. It's like then people will stop saying it because well they don't get anything out of it either.
Okay, my next question has to do with I guess sort of what we've already talked about. We've talked about different experiences and our memories through high school. Some of them are bad, some of them are good. Um, it's sort of I mean it sort of has to do with more I guess of the bad things. Um, so here I'll just say the question. So the question is, what is your biggest regret from high school? I mean, the original question said this school year, but I think we've covered most of the years in general to the point where I think regret from your entire high school career is more of is a broader question that I think is probably better to answer with because I don't think there's that many regrets that I personally have from this year because it's not like I could have done anything about the pandemic, right? I mean, everybody was dealt that card, but it just happened to be in our last year of high school.
Such a good question. Like
Um, I'd say my biggest regret by far is like not getting involved enough, right? I kind of screwed myself over honestly because I went to Canyon. Everybody else went to Creekside. Now currently I only have like a couple friends who went to Canyon, even though like most people in Castro Valley went to Canyon. Pretty much all my friends went to Creekside, and so I kind of when I started high school, I had like two like different groups of friends, like the people from middle school, and then the people that I wanted to be friends with from like elementary school, and like people that I just kind of knew and stuff. And then each like school year, I guess I kind of got like more and more. Uh, I like every single school year I was with a different like group that I would always hang out with. And that trend somehow continued all the way through high school, which is weird. And now I'm at a place where I'm like comfortable and it's a small group of people that I know I'm probably going to like be friends with for the next few years or whatever, like through college and stuff, even if we all like go to different colleges. Um, but I don't really have too many like big regrets. I think not getting involved enough. I tried to like I didn't really join. I didn't join any clubs until this year with the broadcast club. I just kind of stayed uh, kind of out of school activities, out of school drama, which is pretty cool. That's it's kind of like a nice bonus. Um, but I don't know. I don't. I feel like it would have made me more prepared for like college, where I really have to like focus on getting involved in stuff so I can make connections and eventually have a more successful career afterwards. And so, yeah, I'd say if you're watching this and you're like an incoming freshman, try to like join some clubs, meet new people, and make new friends. Try to get involved as quickly as possible. Do like a sport that you like. I didn't do any sports in high school. I wish I had done that. Yeah, just try to step up every once in a while.
yeah, dude. If I could echo that message like I would say every word you just said. Like essentially like when I joined my high school, I knew nobody because all my friends went to Castro Valley High and I went to Moreau and I was like this new school, and the goal is just to do everything. Like when you're a freshman, you don't have any like you go home to like an hour's worth of homework, like literally. Like if I would have done more. Like you're those are the memories you're gonna be making. Like the best times of my life was those things. Like it wasn't, coming home doing school and like having nothing to do. Like those are the least memorable parts. Like the times when you're at home after school. The best time of your life is like when you go to that spirit week practice and you learn the dance or you learn the skit or you help write the skit or you go to rehearsal and you get into your costume for the first time and then you go on stage and you read your monologue like and everybody laughs. Like that is the stuff that like you'll remember forever, and then you're going to meet people that are going to stick with you forever too and who are going to teach you lessons. So like get involved in everything you possibly can, and then it'll also help you. The more you try, the more you'll be able to find what you love to do. Because, a problem that I think could happen is that like you go through your whole high school without trying enough, and then you never really realize, wait, what did I even like here? What do I want to do in the next 4 years? What do I want to do in the, you know what I mean? Like for the rest of my life. And that's a problem I still struggle with. Um, and so like it's kind of like just trying everything, because the more you try, the more you're like, oh, I really like this, and I like this part of this, and even just like that part of that could end up being what you might be doing for the rest of your life. And so like do everything you possibly can. It's like the best piece of advice ever. So yeah.
I think my overall regret is the same as you guys, but it's sort of it's in a different way. Like for my last year in high school, I did a lot. It was my first year in leadership. I was still doing frisbee. I was president for the second year in a row, and then I started a new club, which I had never done before, which was the broadcast club, which Ryan was a part of as well. And all that was so much fun. It was so much fun. Like, and even being in a pandemic, it was like the greatest stretch of like, because I'll talk about it later, but or I guess I'll just say it now, because like the first 3/4 of the year when I had started that broadcast club, I was sort of like, I was sort of thinking to myself, I was like, nothing has happened because the broadcast club is completely dependent on sports happening, and sports were not happening for those first 3/4 of the year. When they finally started happening, or I guess, in those first 3/4 of the year, I was thinking, I am going to go down as the worst club president in school history because I did literally nothing for this club. And everybody's going to hate me for it. That is in the club. All the officers are going to be like, yeah, why don't we ever do anything? When sports started happening and we did our first stream, I remember going home and watching it and just being like, we're going to keep making this better every single stream that we do. And after that, every single stream that we did had something new to it. We had a better camera. We had a sideline reporter. We had stats during the game. We had visuals during the game. And it all came after the next game, and it was like I was an announcer for all those things, and it's like I kept getting more comfortable. So my biggest regret from high school is not doing all that stuff earlier. It's my first 3 years, I was pretty much all frisbee oriented, which isn't bad. I loved it, and honestly, it was so much better than doing an actual like school sport because it taught me so much about like managing money for the club, managing my time in terms of like when I'd be there on some days and maybe not be there on others. It taught me how to be a leader. It taught me how to build confidence within myself. Everything about that club was just great, and I love that club so much. It was just my last meet with them this past Friday. It was really emotional. They gave me like a bunch of like presents and stuff, like this one like paper, everybody signed it. It was really cool. I love that club so much, and I'm always going to. But I'm so, I'm not like so upset, but like I am upset that I didn't do the other stuff earlier, like leadership for one. I really wish I'd done that my junior year, and a lot of people were pushing me to do it my junior year. And instead of doing that, I did. I was a TA. I was a TA for the College and Career Center, which was fun. Honestly, it was fun because I got to like run around all the time to different classes, and I always made the joke like, "Oh, we don't have PE anymore, so this is like my PE," because I would walk around the school and see everything. So it was cool, but it definitely would not have been as cool as doing leadership in person, because leadership this year was not in person. But it did give me an opportunity to do a lot for the class. I got to edit a lot of videos. I got to kind of explore more of like, what I could possibly do for a career, because for a long time, I saw that kind of stuff, the video editing and, even something like this as just a hobby. Now I'm looking at it as I could really do this later in life because I'm pretty good at it. And it's the same thing like with the broadcast club too. So, that's my biggest regret, honestly. And it sucks because it's the things that I loved about high school, and we'll get into that later because that's sort of my next question. But yeah, those are my biggest regrets. Just not doing the stuff that I loved this year earlier in my high school career.
Yeah. I definitely feel you guys with just feeling a lot of regret from not trying new things. That's definitely up there for me. But I don't want to echo exactly what you guys said, and I ended up thinking of another one that kind of comes from the last question, honestly. But I think one of my big regrets was, and I'm not sure if it was exactly inevitable or not, but I'm happy it was better late than never. But I regret taking this long to feel like I'm truly like comfortable with myself as a person. And I say this because I feel like throughout all of high school, I tried way too hard for just for reassurance sake to be like everyone around me. And that might have been the cause of like wanting to prove like how masculine I could be. It could be to prove how like athletic I could be. Um, and I felt like all the things I did up until like quarantine started was for like other people to see and for the fact that like I wanted to be like them. And it took me up until like I spent like months just by myself to finally like figure out that I don't have to be like anyone. Or I don't want it to sound like corny when I say it, but I feel like I mean when you're by yourself, like you're the only person that you're observing. Like you're left with nothing but like your own thoughts. Like you don't have to observe like anyone else's behavior, anyone else's like acts that they do. Like you're kind of left with yourself and just like to figure out who you really are. Um, and I mean, being alone like comes with its downsides. Like obviously, you might have like a harder time socially. Like when I when I finally started going out to see people for the first time, I started to notice that like I would be a little more quiet, or like I wouldn't really want to start like conversations like the way I would before quarantine started. But I think when you're left alone or like with like just a few friends that you don't feel like you have to copy their behavior. I think um I think yeah, like my regret is just taking this long to really be comfortable with myself.
Uh, I want to kind of add off of that because you said it. You like finally found that you're like comfortable with yourself, and I'm kind of I've been like recently, like in the past few months, I've been kind of struggling with that a little bit because like junior year was probably like the happiest I'd been pretty much all high school, right? Uh, and I became extremely like comfortable with myself. But like looking back on that, I'm starting to realize that like I got too comfortable with myself to the point where like I was becoming kind of like every other like white schmuck that you see out there in the world. So I'm trying to kind of figure out who I want to be, but at the same time, I don't want to have like a certain vision of what I want myself to be like and then try to be like that. I kind of want to see like in college, just kind of become a different. I want to become a different person by the end of college, I guess. But I don't know how to like start that. I don't know if I need to like have a vision of like who I want to be and what I want to do for a living, or I just kind of let the flow kind of just take me and just see what happens, which is what ended up happening in high school. But yeah, and like I also became pretty a lot more like antisocial during quarantine because I wasn't around anybody. So now that everything's starting to kind of open back up, I'm starting to kind of have to like relearn like social skills. That's a little bit extreme, but like kind of how to make new friends and how to like meet new people and stuff. So it's kind of interesting, like having to kind of redo everything that I've already done.
Yeah, I'd want to add on to that too. Recently, me and my girlfriend of almost 3 years, we broke up, and it's been really tough on me, I guess. And one of the things is like, who was I when I was with her? Like, it's kind of like a weird thing that I realize is like I have a different personality when I'm with everyone. Like, I have a different
Yeah.
personality when I'm with her, when I'm with you guys, when I'm with my friends from school. Like, even like I might have a different personality when I'm with Will and Andrew than I have a personality when I have with Will and Ryan, or Ryan and Andrew. I mean,
Yeah.
like when Will was on the phone earlier and we were all like trying to copy his movements. I mean, they're probably very similar, but I mean, like, it's kind of like rediscovering who you're meant to be, I guess, because I don't think that there is like a solid plan like, oh, I want to be this person, so I'm going to be this person. It's
Mm.
kind of just like letting yourself be you, and I kind of hope to be able to take Andrew's advice in the sense of just like using alone time to just observe yourself and your thoughts and not have to worry about observing other people's thoughts about you. Um, so I guess it's like it's a process, and that's something that I have to for college as well. But yeah, like honestly, like lots of my regrets are not being, not realizing your mistakes before they happen. Like I made a million mistakes as a boyfriend and as a friend to a lot of people, and then once you lose, because that person was kind of my best friend in a way. Once you lose your best friend, you're like, you think about all the mistakes you made, and then those are your biggest regrets. You know what I mean? Not being better. But you have to be able to forgive yourself. Like I'm part of this musical right now, and one of the characters is like a retiree, and they say, "Oh, I have no regrets." And then I, my grandma came over recently also, and she was like, "I have no regrets in my life." These are like, I guess, old people, I guess, who like say they have no regrets in their life. And right now, there's a million thoughts storming my head about everything, and I'm just like, how do you have no regrets? Like I feel like I regret everything I've done in the last 3 years. Like how could I have been this person? But it's like it's about like forgiving who you were and just becoming better, and not like denying the fact that ever happened, but like accepting that and then moving forward, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think kind of about like regrets. You kind of have to learn to be comfortable with the fact that you used to be that person, you used to be like that. I think that's kind of how you eventually achieve zero regrets, like because obviously your grandma probably had some things that she used to regret, but she learned to accept that that used to be her. And then once you kind of get comfortable with like, yeah, that was me, that's when you don't really regret the thing anymore. Unless it's like something really bad, like you killed someone or something, then definitely that you should
Should
definitely
regret
regret that for a while. But like if it's just something as simple as like, being a douche to your friends and then breaking up with your friends or whatever, you just have to kind of learn that you just like find like solace in the fact that you're not that person anymore, so you would not make those mistakes. So you kind of have to learn from your mistakes to not regret anything in the future.
Yeah. And I
That
think
makes
it's
sense.
also about like being willing to um to be apologetic about it, like to genuinely understand that what I did was wrong. Like it's
Yeah,
impossible to like like to not regret that until like you really understand why it was wrong, and that's the same thing. So like when somebody does something bad to you, it's really hard to forgive that person, even though we probably should forgive people. Like until that they say, I take full responsibility and I understand why that hurt you. It's really difficult to forgive
Mhm.
someone, and so I guess it's like understanding the things you did wrong and then being able to forgive yourself is part of that process. Yeah.
Now let's kind of change the mood. Hopefully, let's change the mood.
Let's go.
We obviously talked. Yeah, no, we've obviously talked about you know, our past regrets from high school,
Mhm.
and how it, I guess sort of shaped us. But hopefully, these things have shaped us as well. Let's go ahead and talk about our biggest accomplishment and takeaway from high school. I guess it's sort of two different questions. You can, phrase it how you will with your answer. But yeah, because I think for some people, your biggest accomplishment could be your biggest takeaway in high school. So if you have one, feel free to share. If you have multiple, feel free to share. I probably have multiple, but there's definitely one in particular that I'm thinking of.
Oh, you can go ahead.
Okay. Well, mine is pretty simple, but I feel like mine kind of has a story behind it, even if it's just like a material thing. I feel like throughout all of high school, really, I really just did enough work to get by. But like, I wasn't necessarily a bad student. Like, I feel like I still got pretty decent grades for not wanting to try hard. But my parents still tell me to this day, like, I feel like there's always like unused potential or like unused talent that I have and I've always had like my whole life that I just chose not to use because of hard work. And I kind of saw that for myself, but like I never really had a motivation to work hard up until like recently. But I just remember if I went through all of high school, like maybe with like a I don't know what GPA this would be, but if I had like all A's and a B, like I wouldn't really have motivation to get that B because I'm thinking like I'm already doing well in school. Like there's no need to get that B yet. Um, I don't I don't know what you'd call that, but I guess I just really had a lack of motivation to work hard, and I feel like once I moved, once I got like situated down here, one thing I really wanted to do since I hadn't seen anyone was like start hanging out with people, but I didn't want to get driven around everywhere and dropped off by my parents and whatnot. So what I thought was, maybe I can save up to buy a car and like a pretty good car that's gonna, save me a minute or save me um like that's gonna I'm blanking on the word. It's gonna like last me a while. So this summer and some of fall and yeah, from like what like June to like January, it was like 6 months. I had worked like for my dad like a lot, and I, it was the first time I really felt motivated to get buy something that I don't know, but I ended up working a lot in those 6 months, and I saved up enough to split the price of a car with my parents, and it was the first time I really felt accomplished in myself. Like I really worked for it. And it's a pretty nice car too. Like for what, like an 18-year-old kid, it's gonna
What
last
is
me.
it?
Like it's a 2016 Toyota Camry,
I have a
and
2007 Camry, so
yeah,
definitely
it's a
nice
hybrid
looking
too.
one.
Dang, a hybrid. That's like
So
my dream car, literally.
That's
yeah,
sick. Yeah.
it's bro. Okay, I don't want to brag, but I can.
No,
I can.
brag.
All right, I can make it from here to the Bay Area in one tank.
Pretty
That's
sick.
so fire, dude. Literally,
So
fuel efficient
I
as hell, dude.
yeah, it's crazy, and it's still at like maybe a little less than 100 miles of gas, like to
Damn.
take me like wherever. But it was the first time I really felt like accomplished in myself. That like it kind of told me that like I could work hard, or like I have it in me to work hard. I just have to use it, you know. Because once you let that laziness and unmotivation take over, like you're just gonna be wishing, kind of like what you guys were saying earlier. Like you're gonna be wishing you did more, because I think deep down we all know that like we have potential or we have talent that we might not be using, but think about like all the good things that happen when like we use it. Like with Will, when he got out of his comfort zone to start his own club with broadcasting, like he really enjoyed that, right? And I just think that was just an example I wanted to use, but I think when you could be like incredibly productive when you choose to deny yourself comfort. And I think that was the first time I really felt like I did that. And I feel like I might need like some kind of motivation soon. But just because I feel like I'm starting to crawl back into that like hole of laziness. Like I want to crawl myself back out. Like I need new motivation now. But I think it was the first time like I felt really accomplished in myself, and it's without a doubt my biggest accomplishment. So
Dude, that's awesome. Like I think what you
Yeah.
said about like denying yourself comfort, like that is like the most
That's
awesome
so
quote
good.
ever. Because that's something my mom always tells me about is like life is uncomfortable. Like the kind of the best parts of life are uncomfortable. Like and that's where you learn the best lessons and that's where you get the most done. And like I think you're right. Like I had like I guess I'll also say kind of what my biggest accomplishment was also. It's usually your biggest accomplishment is probably going to be tied to whatever you work the hardest on. You know what I mean? And I put my heart and soul into our junior year skit for our Spirit Week, and I just thought it was absolutely amazing. And I like wrote so many jokes for it, and like did so much work for it, and like just seeing the people like clap. There was one moment where the main character, his name is Joe, like he gets broken up with or whatever, and his last name is Mama, literally. Anyways, but what happens is that like the audience like of school kids like were just like Joe, 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 and it was like it felt so good. Like that's something I worked so hard on, and just to have to see like support for that is like the greatest feeling like on earth. And like same thing for like theater too. Like when you spend 3 months working on memorizing these lines and working with a guy and making sure that like your dynamic works together or whatever, and then it works, and then the audience laughs, or the audience claps the end, and that's those claps are unmistakably like for you. Like I had a problem with like my dad is a teacher at my school, and like lots of times we would Gonzolito because that's his nickname Gonzo, and like I felt like I was always kind of in the shadow of him. And when I go on stage, like every clap, I know that's for me. I mean, like that's not the people aren't just like rewarding me because of my dad. Like that's because I was able to put in this work, and I felt so accomplished because of that. And I kind of forgot where I was going from the start, but like but yeah, like just something that you work so hard on is always what you're gonna be most accomplished of. So yeah, like that Spirit Week skit and having everyone say Joe, Joe, Joe is like that was the best feeling ever. Yeah.
Yeah. What I was gonna say, I mean, first of all, it's not like nearly as cool as like having a car, like having everyone chant Joe, but like it actually ties kind of like perfectly back into what Andrew was saying about like, being uncomfortable. And then that's when you accomplish something great. Um, Basically with marching band, I play like percussion, like the drums, right? My freshman and sophomore year, I played the snare drum, and I was good at it. I'd like to believe. But then in my junior year, I wanted to play a new one called the tenors, which I had played. It's like four drums. You can like play them all. But I tried out, but then there's people better than me, and then I wasn't good enough at that point to be on the drums because they had to have somebody to like lead the drums, like lead the snare drums. But then there was an empty spot on the bass drums, right? But the bass drums are like these big like drums that you hit like that. I had never done that before, so I was like extremely I like scared me. And all the other bass players were just like the kids that had no like marching, like no drum experience, and so they were all just like new to that. So when we first started, I was like, okay, this is easy. We'll just do some exercises because they put me in charge because I was the only person who had a previous experience on drums. Uh, And so as soon as we started, I realized that none of them had like they had all like played. They had like some experience from like band and stuff, but it was like they could not play like they didn't know what like certain notes were. They couldn't really play in time. And so the once we got the music, it was like we had to play pretty much if one person messed up, then the entire bass, all four of us would just get messed up, right? So we had to basically figure out how to like I had to basically teach them all of this stuff about like syncopation, playing the right notes, playing in time, not speeding up or slowing down, and they had to learn how to march, which is also really hard. Um, and so eventually we got okay. I'd say we were always like the worst section. We were always like the laziest, the least like hardworking, because that was just our personalities. Um, and then one of them like gets a foot injury right before the last show, and we were telling her like, oh, you can still do this one show, right? And she was like, no. And so that was like one of the scariest things for us, because like we rely on all four of us playing everything perfectly, right? If that doesn't happen, then we're all gonna just completely fall apart. So I had to learn her part plus my part to play them both, which is it was hard, but it was whatever. And then we had to basically figure out how to march missing a person, which is also really hard. But then somehow in our last show, everything for us just kind of clicked, and we did the by far it was just three of us, and we did by far the best like show we had ever done. Everything we didn't make any mistakes that I can like think of. We ended up getting a really good score, and the snare drummers, who usually kind of outshined everybody, were like, "Yeah, you guys by far carry the entire section." And I feel like, as kind of like the section like leader of like the bass drums, that was just like at the time it was just kind of like, "Oh yeah, we just kind of did it." But like looking back on it now, that was one of my best like that's the only like time I've been in like a position of like leadership, or like the first time I'd been in like a position of leadership, and just kind of took these people who had never done anything like this and helped them kind of get to like a level of proficiency where it sounded like they had been playing for years. And that was just, I don't know, looking back on it, I'm really happy that I did that. And yeah, it felt really good to do that.
It's awesome, dude. That's like an honor for you. Like those kids are always gonna remember that.
Yeah,
Like when I was like a fresh, or I guess I was sophomore, and I joined choir for the first time. Like the guys who were like above me, they like were already masters, and this was my first year ever doing choir,
Mhm.
and they knew everything, and it was almost like a joke. It's like I was like, dude, how do I do this part? He's like, hey, you ever read music? Just read it, dude. And it was almost like a joke, but it's kind of like that tough love kind of thing, like being able to work for yourself in that, and then you also feel accomplished, especially once it's good, because by that time, like you have a really good leader who knows what they're doing and knows like everything. Like you can work with them, and then your whole section improves. And so like having a good leader is always so amazing. So I know that
Yeah.
you probably meant a lot to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest like skill that I had to work on, which I think is something that I've been good at, is being patient, like having a lot of patience. Because with these people, I had to have a lot of patience, because two of them had like no sense of rhythm, and so we would have to go over like really easy sections for like hours and hours, and I think I only lost my temper one time, which I obviously regret doing. But then right before our last show, we were all like trying to like say stuff that we really appreciated about each other, and both of them said that they really admired how patient I was, which I was like, I was like, no, well, that obviously isn't true, because I lost my temper, because I acted like I was all patient, but then on the inside I was just like, I really wanted to figure all these drum stuff out. But I think a really important skill that I'm glad that I learned through this. That's a big takeaway of mine.
Yeah. I guess there's a few things that I could reference that I'm like that. Well, I guess that are accomplishments, but that I'm just overall kind of proud of from a very like not young age, but like I guess like very early into my like high school life. Um, I obviously as a freshman, and I think this is true for everybody. You know, you're not going to be like the president of a club or like an officer in a club or just some be thrown in, or thrust into some sort of leadership position immediately. But I remember one of the first things I had done for Club Ultimate was, and this is like before I had become an officer or anything, I had thought of the idea to go to Creekside and do a demonstration for Frisbee and just, kind of like advertise the club, like give us like some sort of like promotion so that kids coming in would hopefully be interested. I mean, it didn't really work. I mean, like we maybe got like 10 kids or something that were new and maybe not even that. But I remember that was something that like I had thought of and that I sort of did. And then from there, my confidence level like just sort of kept growing. I remember like like those first 3 years, I know I had talked about like just becoming the president of Club Ultimate and whatever. I like for the first year and maybe a couple of years actually, I this is before I became the president or anything. The club was always sort of the same like routine. It was sort of like we warm up and then we do some stretches or whatever. We do like some throwing around and then we get into games or like scrimmages, I guess. And that was like the entire thing. It was just that every single day or every single time we met up. I wanted to make it a little bit different and a little bit more engaging so that more people could come. So eventually, every week, we would do, or because we started having a couple practices a week. Fridays were the days where we do the scrimmages, but I remember Mondays were the days where we would like. I thought of like we could do some sort of different game. Like we could play something where you throw. We did this one. It was like we were at the top of because we used to play on the lower softball field. We were at the top of the upper softball field, and there was a big trash can, like an empty one, at the bottom of the lower softball field. It was like the first person that could throw it into the trash can would win. Like I think I had brought like a giant Kit Kat or something, but everybody was on board for it, right? It was sort of like some like not really like worth it prize, but it was just sort of like people wanted to be competitive and do something different. So that was really fun. And I remember, feeling pretty proud of that because it was like people would show up and then they would be expecting a different game sort of each week that we'd think of. And we'd obviously have to repeat sometimes because there's not a ton, surprisingly, that you can do with a Frisbee. But it was really fun for me because I got to be creative. And then with that, I got to be more confident, more creative. And then that's sort of when the whole like leadership and broadcast club thing happened. When I started the broadcast club, I had like so many like high expectations for it. And then after those 3/4 of the year went by, I was like, this sucks, man. Like we're not going to be able to do anything that I had thought of. Then fast forward just about a week later, I'm getting to work with the athletic director, the activities director, the communications guy, Mr. Baker, who like everybody memes on for some reason. I'm working with all those guys like to make the broadcast club happen, and it was really really fun. And I'm still like in contact with the athletic director now. Every day or every stream that we do, he's always he has so much confidence in me and the club to be able like to put out quality content because he had only seen like the first stream and he saw what we like how we upgraded the YouTube channel and stuff. Like just getting that feedback from him and then getting the feedback from everybody that would watch the streams and that would just tell me personally like how good of a job I was doing at announcing or just being the president of this club and doing all this stuff. It just made me keep want to keep doing it because if it was like I was doing all this and I was getting like no kind of like motivation to keep doing it, I don't know if I could have kept up with it because it was a lot of things I had to do. Like I know Ryan knows because he picks me up for this stuff. I'm still bringing like these 2 duffel bags just full of electronics and like it's a lot of it is my personal stuff, like my personal computer, tripod, camera, everything that we use for the stream. But it's so much fun. And then
You might need to start lending that stuff out
yeah.
when you go to college, so we can
Yeah, when we
continue
all go
doing
to
the
college. No, I
streams.
think we're gonna try to find some way to raise money, which won't be that hard, I
Okay.
don't think, because people like the club. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Also, who won the Kit Kat and like made that shot?
God, I cannot even remember. Um, I want to say it was someone that wasn't in our grade. I think it was probably some younger kid because I didn't really get to finish that story, but we had to move the trash can up about like 20 feet every like minute that they didn't make a shot. And it was annoying because like that game in particular, it was like whenever they'd throw it, they'd miss like so terribly. So the officers that weren't playing, we'd have to go run off, chase a frisbee that went behind the fence or something, and keep throwing them back. And our aim wasn't that particularly good either, so they would have to run down the hill, retrieve our throws, and then go back up, and it just became so exhausting. So we put it really close. But
Dang.
yeah, I can't really remember who won. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so just the broadcast club. That I mean, it's been so much fun. Like even if it's just been like for 7-ish weeks, it's been so much fun. Um, and then my last accomplishment is probably just leadership. Honestly, like editing all those videos and getting through every single one of them. Like eventually, it became a thing where like I was the only one in leadership, I guess, that could edit a video because it was like whenever someone would need something and like propose like an idea or something like for an event that was coming up, Maloney, who's our activities director and who's the guy like the advisor or teacher, I guess, for leadership, he would, or even if it was like a member of ASB, they would say something like, "Oh yeah, just make sure Will has enough time to do it," and I'd be like, "What?" Because I had no notice of what that was before. So, but it became basically like I was the guy to go to like for all this stuff, and I know a lot of like my fellow classmates had told me like, "Oh, you carried leadership this year and stuff," and like you literally did everything because it was like there was nothing really else to do like besides edit videos, and that's what my job was, and I loved it a lot, but it became a lot of work. My superlative because they give out superlatives to all the seniors that are leaving at the end of the year in leadership. My superlative was like most likely to never edit a video again. That was the award that I got. But I mean, I love getting it because it was just sort of like reminiscent of like what the whole year being in leadership was like. It was very different from any other year, but yeah, just my job in that year was it was great, and all the other stuff. I'm so proud of, honestly.
Dude, that's so awesome. I was just talking to a friend of the show, Alex Ikuma, and she was telling me that you went like so hard this year in leadership. Like you just did everything. And I can see that. Like I always see people talking about the CBHS Broadcast Club on my Instagram and like um and just hearing how much work you put into it. That's like so awesome because dude, I love that stuff too. Like I love video editing and leadership and like
Yeah,
dude, even though we haven't talked about it, even though we probably should, like, dude, like, it feels so awesome to have someone like Will, who's my friend, like, for like literally like 20 years, like,
not even 20 years old yet.
True.
almost like whatever it was, whenever we became
18
friends, like,
years.
yeah, 10 years, whatever, which is like most of my life, um, like, to see him like share those interests and like going so hard on them is so awesome, like, and what's so cool about it too is um like the jobs. Like I love the fact that you see this as like a passion of yours. Like there was a Moreau alumni named Adam Copeland. I'm not sure, but basically he's like a KNBR reporter. Like he does um like he's basically like a sportscaster now, like for the radio, and that's like his full time job. And the reason I know this is because he did like an MCTV, which is like our school like TV program, and I recognize his name because when he went to Moreau, I'm pretty sure he played the same character as I did in Saving the Greeks in theater,
Yeah,
and so like it was just so cool to see like someone who went to Moreau and like just doing what they love for a living, like it's not out of reach. Like that's something that can totally happen. So that
yeah.
was so awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's a good point that you make. Like, not just praising me for all that stuff, because, like, I mean, I just considered it like, it was my job. Like I knew I had to do that stuff if nobody else was going to. It was not like, the things that I was doing. It was just like because I wanted to. It was like, I knew I had to and like get it done. And I was passionate about it. I was like, I'm a pretty competitive person as it is. I was like, I know if I set my mind to something and like tell myself I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Like starting the club, I was going to do that no matter what. Like no matter like who like told me whatever. But basically what I was going to say was, we have this friend of the show. His name is Bobby. And Bobby, he's been friends with most of us. Almost all of our lives, really. Like, ever since elementary school, like we've known this guy forever, and he's just great friend. And but what I was gonna say is, for a large portion of knowing him, I always saw him as the football guy. I never really saw much else, which sounds bad, but I knew that he loved football and he loved the Raiders, and he still loves the Raiders and he loves football, but besides that, I'd always just assumed, oh, Bobby someday gonna go to the NFL. I'd thought that since elementary school, and then I kind of stopped thinking that like once I got to high school, because I was like, okay, reality's starting to sort of set in. He's good, but he's not. I mean, no one really is NFL. Like, come on. But when I took graphic design with Bobby, I want to say, yeah, this was junior. This was just last year when I took graphic design with Bobby. I saw just how overall like creative and artistic he was, and it really made me think like, this could be something that he could really like be good at someday if he were to stick with it. I remember we had a presentation from this guy who came into our class, and he said, and he was talking sort of about like the Academy of Arts, which is something that our teacher, whose name is Mr. Greenfield, had went to. And I remember he had put down like the brochure or whatever, you like the ad or whatever you'd call it for the college at like the table. And Bobby kind of checked it out. I was like, I mean, I didn't check it out, but like, I knew that, both of us were kind of good at this thing. But when Bobby checked it out, I was like, makes sense. It was sort of like, I was sort of proud of him in a way, because I knew that, I know he's told me like personally, like he doesn't know what he's going to do yet in life. But if he were to go into something like this, I know he'd be good at it, because he's a creative guy. He's very artistic, and he seems passionate about this kind of thing, or like he has the potential to become more passionate about it. So that's just one example. I mean, he started off as just the football guy, and he's now just the guy that is good at multiple things, and he's finding it along his way in high school. Beautiful story.
That is a beautiful story.
I got one more.
All right, final question. It's late. It's almost 10.
Jesus
Christ.
Yeah, we didn't
put that one on hold.
Oh my god.
All right.
Final question.
So our final question, and then I'm going to ask you guys like how you want to answer it, because depending on how you go about it, it can be a few different things. Obviously, the topic is remembering high school and like remembering our stuff in high school. And along the way, I'm sure we've gathered much wisdom and such. Just from being experienced in high school, and going through the different years, and I don't know, just sort of living our lives through high school. It's probably been different experiences, or I know it's been different experiences, but through those experiences, we've probably gained pieces of advice. So we can either answer this question like we did in a past episode, not we specifically, but I know like for me and Andrew at least, we did this. The last question is advice for those that are in high school, or like, going into their next year or entering high school, something like that. But the way that we did it before, it was everybody picked a number. We're not going to do that this time, but we can just choose. People, like whoever picked one gave advice to freshmen, and then 2 was sophomores, 3 was juniors, 4 was seniors. Like, do you guys want to do it like that? Or do you want to give advice like to generally like every class, get like, everybody that's still in high school or coming into high school?
Dude, giving advice to sophomores is so boring.
Dude, I think Andrew had to do that.
It's literally just like a transition from
remember
freshman to junior.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can think of advice for just like, I guess each stage is just like, different stages of high school.
Well, let's just do that then. Let's just, go through like summarize sort of like advice for each different grade that you'd have.
Okay.
Don't vape.
Don't do drugs or drink.
Please don't.
Yeah, wait till you're in college for that. I guess a few things that come to mind. One, make sure that you surround yourself with people that make you feel happy. I feel like that's a pretty like obvious thing. Most people are like, "Oh yeah, duh, I obviously want to do that." But like in practice, it's a lot more difficult than that because I the people that I kind of surrounded myself when I first started going to high school, I was friends with, but they didn't really make me feel like I was a part of like, this high school. And I was like, my own self. That didn't happen until like junior year. And then I realized half of them were like douchebags or whatever. And then, but now I'm kind of at a place where I've surrounded myself with people that I know care about me and I care about them. And I don't try to keep anybody who like I can tell is like fake or whatever, which sounds very cliche, but Um, so that's one thing is just to kind of surround yourself with people that make you feel happy and that make you feel good and make you better as a person. Another one is don't don't overwork yourself because that is the number one thing that I see a lot of my friends like stopping them from being happy is they can't hang out because they have whatever test to study for, they have whatever to do because they want to get into some really nice college and they're hard focused on like your adult life, which is definitely important. Don't let that go. But once you have kind of a goal in mind, obviously work hard towards it. But you don't want to become unhappy because you're overworking yourself because you took 3 AP classes as a sophomore or try to get I don't know what's the highest GPA we can get, like 4.5 or something. Try to strive for as high a GPA as possible. Just like don't do that. I tried to take pretty easy classes throughout my high school career because I'm just focused on getting into college, which I did. I'm very happy about. But yeah, don't even if like all of your friends are like, you know, like high achievers, don't feel like you have to do that as well. Don't feel like need to take AP computer science, even if that's something that you're not passionate about. Because I took it, I'm taking it, I'm terrible at it. It's too late for me. I can't drop out of it now. I'm just kind of I'm just trying to do the best I can. So yeah, make sure that you surround yourself people that care about you and don't overwork yourself, but also make sure to keep your goals in mind and don't let that slip away because this is kind of the opposite of what I just said. So you're gonna have to try to strike a balance between work and like leisure and like living life because right now I'm kind of at a point where I've already got into college. I know I'm going to college, so I just don't really care about what my grades look like. I don't really care about what the rest of the school year is going to be like. But it's a very lazy and unhealthy mindset to kind of be in as you're kind of finishing out high school because you don't want that to transition into when you're in college. Obviously, procrastinating is a big thing that a lot of high schoolers right now face. Starting homework at like 12 o'clock in the morning and then procrastinating going to sleep at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. A lot of people do that. Like they've just gotten used to that. And it's so unhealthy and just like you're not going to be a very happy person. So make sure that you set your mind on kind of doing a good job in school and not procrastinating everything too much, but at the same time don't try to overwork yourself and like become unhappy by like suffering because you're suffering from success, I guess.
This dude really just said suffering from success. Like
I don't
it's
really know how to
DJ
do
Khaled
that.
or something.
Yeah, it's TJ Khaled.
Right. No, I like Ryan's point about I don't know what it was about you saying don't procrastinate but don't overwork yourself.
Yeah.
But it made me think, like, a lot of things. This just goes out to like the general population of high school, by the way. But I think, and not even that. Like, if you're really at any stage in life, I was thinking you're gonna need to find like a sense of balance in almost everything. Like, you're not gonna want to procrastinate. You're not gonna want to overwork yourself. You're not gonna want to surround yourself with friends who do nothing but criticize you, but you don't want to also surround yourself with friends who do nothing but praise you. You don't want to. I don't know what I was thinking like, you kind of get what I mean, though. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think when it comes to things like that, you kind of have to find your balance, and I think it's really easy for me. I mean, we talked about this when it came to the biggest regrets of high school, but I definitely lean to wanting to be lazy for my entire life compared to wanting to, work and finding motivation to work hard. But I really think like everything that you do like comes down to yeah, finding balance. And I think another this is the one I was thinking of. Like you wanna try things. You wanna try things that you think will make you happy, but you don't want to keep doing things that aren't making you happy. And I feel like there's a sense of balance that comes with that too. And I felt like I tried I think throughout high school, like just from personal experience, like I spent time like trying to find that sense of balance. I feel like I'm overusing the word balance at this point, but I feel like I didn't realize that I needed it until pretty recently. And yeah, I think along with that, I think including the point I said earlier about you know doing things that make you happy and not things that'll make like other people around you happy. I think your own happiness comes before anyone. Like you don't it won't do anything like for yourself to try to make other people happy. Like other people are too other people are too involved with themselves. They're too focused on themselves. Like they don't really have time to worry about you or the things that you're doing. I'm kind of just like going out on a trying to figure out my own personal experiences and like throwing them out there, like lessons I've learned. And I don't know, those are just the first two that came out of my brain. But I really, I think that sense of balance thing is pretty important for whatever stage you are at in life. But since we're about to finish high school, like I think it's worth it for freshmen. That's crazy, dude. Isn't it crazy that like it doesn't feel like that long ago since like we were coming out of Creekside or
Yeah.
Canyon, and like I wish I had someone like this that like I could be getting advice like this from.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. One of the things, like, I agree with you, both you guys, in kind of certain ways, I guess. Like, one of the things I guess it's different is that I somehow didn't overwork myself. I think the most I ever worked was sophomore year, and I remember one night specifically when like I had a history project due, and it was the same week as Hell Week, which is like the week before opening night in theater, and you have to stay till 11 p.m. That's just like how it is. And so I'd stay till 11 p.m. I got home and I had a project the next day. And so I stayed up till 2 a.m. doing my project. And it was I was gonna do a project based on TikTok. This was in 2018, by the way. I'm an OG TikToker. 2018, like
I
October
remember this.
2018. Yeah. And so like it was on the French Revolution. And so I was up till 2 a.m. Like my back, like I was like this the whole time. And like the next morning I was like, I don't drink coffee or anything. I was like I was in horrible shape, but I still performed. I still turned in my project. I got a good grade. But like, I don't recommend doing that. Okay, like I'm just saying, like don't overwork yourself because yeah, but like somehow also like find ways to cheat the system. Like work smarter, not harder. Like do TikToks instead of writing in like a 20-page essay. You know what I mean? Or like somehow I have no idea how this happened, but I ended up tied for third in my class. just like overall. And so like um and this is how, because I took 2 classes that were honors choir classes. So I took honors choir and honors chambers, and I got GPA boosts because I would go into class and I would sing. Like that's like find ways to do that. Like you don't have to exactly take an AP computer science or like a really hard class to get good grades or like do something you really love. I got really lucky in my case, and there's might not always be a solution like that, but like working smarter and and um and yeah, I think one of the things like kind of what Andrew was saying was like yeah, like loving yourself. Like one of the things is like they say like the classic things like you can't love anybody else until you love yourself, and it's kind of true. Like one of the things, and I think hopefully I was able to love myself in the last years. Like I was saying, like I had a girlfriend for almost 3 years, um, and when I was saying also like my regrets is like wishing I could have been a better boyfriend kind of thing. Like I wish I had been because um, Andrew was kind of saying also like you don't really have time to worry about other people, but if you do end up committing to a relationship, like it does become part of your your life to care about that person. And so at a certain point, yeah, like you need to love yourself enough to have enough space to love that person as well and love them with what they deserve. Um, because they'll be giving you hopefully just as much. So yeah, like loving yourself, working hard, working smart. Um, that would be my piece of advice. Yeah.
That's all tough to follow. When I was at sort of the promotion, I guess you'd call it, for leadership, and it was sort of like, well, we call it just desserts, but it is sort of just a way to say goodbye to the seniors and introduce the new class that's coming in to leadership. The seniors got up on the stage, I guess. We were just sort of standing in front of the bleachers. We got up there and we sort of said our last words of advice, and I remember like I was one of the first to say my advice, and it was sort of it was sort of along the lines of if your job was like anything like mine this year, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a lot of hours, but and then I had some sort of closing statement like you'll be fine though, and then I gave a shout out to my Instagram. I was like, if you got any questions, go follow me at Weakita. I said it like really, really fast, but I mean, my advice, I guess, for anybody in high school, like if you're entering or if you're just going into your next grade, it's relatively the same. I guess if you're going to work as hard as I did this past year for one class, just make sure you're on top of the other things that are going on in life. You want to be able to have priorities, of course, but priorities, I think, can sort of resonate in people's minds a little bit differently. I don't know exactly what like anybody that watches this what your definition would be, but the way I see it is, let's say you have a lot of missing assignments in a class or in just multiple classes. The thing, like, what's going to matter more, like doing those missing assignments that are already late or doing your homework that is due the next day, and well, it'll be over by the end of the week at least. If you do that, you'll have time to catch up on your missing assignments and such. But if you have like a due date that it does need to be done by, because for some things in like leadership, there was a video that I would work harder on because I knew that it had to be done by a certain date. Like for other classes, I kind of took advantage of them in a way, and like didn't do the work that day or the day it was supposedly due. Because maybe I just thought, I know I'm going to be able to do, maybe it's just because I thought I want to do the leadership stuff more, or I want to do stuff for the broadcast club more, it sort of ties into some things that I regret, I guess. You shouldn't, if you're going to prioritize something, you got to make sure that you're on top of your other stuff. You got to make sure that you don't fall behind too much in your other things, because otherwise you're going to get criticized by your parents and say, why is your grade? not as good as it should be in this class. But then 2, it's also just going to make you feel like, you know, because eventually you're going to get in that mindset of like, oh, I'll just do it later. You're not going to do it later. Like, you know that you're not going to do it later. That's exactly like what I was going through this entire year. There's stuff still that I eventually, like, I just didn't do some things, like all the homework assignments, because I just didn't need to. I was just trying to pass. And there's nothing wrong with just trying to pass if, you know, you don't like the class or something. That was an unintended rhyme. But if you don't like the class, and, you know, you don't have to do all the work, I guess. Like, you know, don't do enough to pass, but, you know, don't feel like you have to get an A, because honestly, the A's and the grades and stuff, it's not going to matter that much at the end of the day. I'm so happy that I didn't push myself and stay up to like 4 a.m. every single day doing homework. I'd be up till 4 a.m. doing other stuff, but not homework. If I was up doing homework every single day and I did get all those A's, I wouldn't be as happy as a person as I am now. I'm so like content with what I've done in high school, even though even though I did fail integrated too with that one teacher. You know, it's like I can look back on that as sort of like a learning experience, even though a lot of people failed that class. I'm gonna get into a whole different story, but basically, it's like, don't worry too much about it. You know, there's a lot in life that you have to look forward to. We are so small, and you're worrying about homework that's due the next day. It's gonna be okay. I like, trust me, you'll be fine, because I turned out fine, and I'm graduating soon. And I mean, you know, I made it, right? If you have that same mindset as I do, you can make it too. And you can also start a new club that'll get praised by a bunch of people, and that'll get a lot of interest. You can become the president of an existing club and make it better than it already was at one point. You can join a class and do the most for that class, while still having a lot of fun. There's so many things that you can do in high school that can be summed up into a really good experience that some kids might not get because they don't even try. So just do your best, try your hardest, and best of luck in high school.
Wow. What a way to end it.
Yeah.
If that's the last piece of advice that I give on these podcasts, then I'm glad I went out the way I did.
Oh, shoot.
That was good.
All right. Well, yeah, like I said, if that was the last thing that we said on, or last piece of advice, last statement, question, whatever that we had said, are you guys satisfied with it? I mean, I kind of liked my answer, but
Yeah, very. And I'm honored to have been part of this. It's
Socratic
the
seminar.
high school perspective. I'm so honored to have been part of the high school perspective and share my perspective
too.
on high school.
I'm so honored to be a friend of the show.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully, when you do the college perspective, you'll bring me back on.
No, call it the high school perspective too.
Oh, the high school perspective too. And at that point, we'll have a new perspective.
we'll have a new host.
The
So-
after
Oh,
high school
I could
perspective.
sell the rights to the name, the high
To
school.
Zach.
But keep the film rights though,
Zach.
Yeah, I'll sell it to
because-
Zach.
just in case they want to make a movie, dude.
High school perspective 2, the movie.
Well, so I mean, if this was the last one that we ever do, because we are graduating, and literally, like, I mean, for us, me, Ryan, and Andrew, it's like 4 days. For Luis, it's 5. If this is the last episode, and
I'm not graduating in 4 days.
Oh, what?
Oh yeah, when are you
That-
graduating?
The 6th of June.
Oh damn, this
Oh
guy's a
my
long time, dude. This
God.
man,
Wow.
um,
Dang.
be a junior, dude. You're
Yeah,
still in
Yeah,
high
you
school.
got a you got a while. I forgot you started much later. I completely forgot that.
Yeah.
But if this is the last episode that we do, I just want to say that overall, this whole experience, like, of me just making all these videos and stuff, it's been a lot of fun. Like, I mean, just like for me personally, since I've been on every single one, there were a lot of times where I felt like, why am I doing this? You know, they're like, no one's gonna watch these. You know, like, I'm not really even advertising them as much as I should. I'm doing them because I like them. I'm doing them because other people that have been on them before have told me that they like them. And I'm doing them because people that do watch parts of them or segments of them, you know, they can come up to me and tell me, or text me after they've watched it and said that it's, sort of like giving them motivation, giving them some inspiration to go out and try something, or to go out and do something that they wouldn't have done before. Everything about these videos was always just to please, just to make, to give some general advice, to be a safe space to share a bunch of different people's opinions. It was something that I used like to learn about a bunch of different things, like dance, for example. Never would have gotten to learn as much as I did about that. Or even Luis and his Star Wars knowledge. Probably wouldn't have gotten as much information out of that if we hadn't done something like this. It's really been a blessing, honestly. I know it's just something that I started and that I post, like for me personally. But if anybody has gotten this far in the video, I just want to say, if you have stuck around for just over a year now, I think is when I started it. I just want to say thank you, because it's been so much fun. I love doing these. I just love making videos in general. And I hope that if you are one of the people that are just my friend, or maybe you're one of these guys' parents that are watching this, I hope that you've been able to see us grow a little bit just over the past year or so, and can take something away from this. And that goes out to anybody that's watching. So yeah, I just want to say thank you. That's pretty much going to do it though. And like Luis was saying, I think we've been recording for 4 hours because we took an hour and a half break at one point, and the first hour was just us kind of talking about some random stuff. Last episode of the High School Perspective.
Nice.
Pretty sad.
Until season 2.
Until season 2.
Season 2. This is season 1. Where you better do a season 2, and
Who's
then
who's gonna be the next host, dude? You have a
You're your roommate.
I should find somebody.
It's the college perspective. It's the high school's perspective. Season 2.
I'll co-host.
Oh, yeah. No, honestly, I was like, well, what if because honestly, sometimes I would think like, well, what if I scheduled a meeting or like a video or something, right? And then I couldn't be there. I was like, Andrew's good at this. Like, he's been on a bunch. He could be like, backup. I don't know. That's just something I thought of. It obviously never happened, but
one day you should do like a Zoom call with every person who's ever been on the podcast and just see what the hell happens. That would be insane.
That'd be so crazy.
Post it.
Dude, I don't even know how many people. I'm honestly curious to see how many people that'd be. I'm gonna go count after this. That's crazy. I didn't even think about
That would be awesome, right? The reunion.
Oh my god. Yeah, the reunion. Holy